Okay, I think that should be good. There we go. Yeah, I had to take a minute because I realized that I'd forgotten to plug in my microphone. And then I was like, oh, yeah, that is a thing that I should in fact do. I should plug in the microphone because who's going to hear me talk if it's not plugged in? Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I hope the day was restful and or productive for y'all. A lot has happened today. And that is part of why I'm late. Some things have been good in some aspects. I just had to kind of like get on top of them very quickly, metaphorically speaking, and the end result of that was, oh, okay, then this means that it is time to immediately address X, Y, Z, A, B, C things, and results look promising. Tomorrow is going to be one of those days where things are either going to go great or it's going to be shenanigans. I don't know which, but we're going to find out. Yeah, a couple things kind of just like one after the other, sort of repeatedly quick. Hang on a second, I'm just checking one thing to see. Shouldn't be sharing activity in any Discord server. Sometimes I just have to check on Discord things to be like, hey, why are you showing that I'm doing this thing? I prefer that you don't do that. But I do not entirely know if I don't know if it's one of those things where with Discord I can't tell if it's actually showing the thing or not, or if it's only showing it because I happen to be because I can see my own activity, but I don't know if other people can see it either. Discord's just a thing. Ay vey. Anyway. So, we're here. We're going to be doing some Shoot Lancer programming stuff. I'll talk a little bit about some of the changes that have been implemented in the build since what I showed at Play NYC. Oh yeah, Play NYC. This is our first time back streaming since Play NYC happened. Play NYC went great. We had a couple of people actually come back to the booth this year and go, we remember Shoot Lancer. That game is great. I've been waiting to play it again, or to hear news about it again. So you had one person that came back from literally last year who was like, I remember this game. I'm excited to play it again. And then one person who came by like 2 days in a row, like, yo, I'm absolutely here for like running this again. So we take those. Today is going to be relatively casual because I'm going to be trying to pick at a specific thing with Shoot Lancer that I've been trying to get a hold of since the end of Play NYC specifically. I've been trying to sort it out, and basically past me and I are kind of at odds again, because the way that Past Me did a particular thing is now causing issues with the way Present Me wants to handle this thing, and the end result of that is that I'm suffering. It's suffering, but it's okay. I will figure out something at some point. But essentially speaking, among a lot of the other like changes that have kind of like come up and been relevant, one of the major ones has been one of the major ones that's come up is that the enemy that you see on screen over here. Oh, I just realized that you can't see the Visual Studio window because there we go. So the enemy that you see on screen here, the stage 2 boss, used to have a much more threatening forward movement pattern that I removed once we stopped having characters be able to turn around. And the end result of that, though, is that there's a certain level of threat that she no longer presents. There's a certain level of threat that she no longer presents that the team has been sort of thinking about adjusting in some aspect, trying to make sure that we bring that threat back. So as part of dealing with that right, one of the things is that essentially speaking, we were like, yeah, we should probably try to make her a little more threatening again. And so, as part of that, I'm going to see if there's a way to. Well, we have a way to do it because of something that was suggested to me that I'm trying to implement now. The only problem is that it interferes with some of the behavior that she's already had. So, I'm going to start off by disabling the part of the behavior that exists now. So that we can get the behavior that I'm trying to add, and then I'll put it back in and explain why exactly it's an issue, at least at present. One of the major changes that we're not going to see yet is also to do with the way that enemy waves spawn into the game now. You can't see that with the test stage because the test stage is set up for something else altogether. So, all right. So that. Oh fuck! Y'all couldn't see it because I keep forgetting that the window capture doesn't always capture the correct thing. All right, it's fine. Okay. So y'all are mostly seeing it, but it's not quite working right because I forgot to do one very important thing. I need to come back over here. And what's the name of this state again? So I make sure I don't. Okay, hold on a second here. Let me see something. Okay, I know where to reset that now. Hold on a second. Just need to do. Okay, so then right here, come over here, and then oh, that's why. That would also be part of why that was not working correctly, because I forgot to actually send this back to the correct state in the first place. I don't think that will fix all the problems that I'm having, but it will fix one of the major ones that was just happening a second ago. Ready? Swift flying, rookie. Spin off. So yeah, that's basically the behavior. That's basically the behavior that I'm trying to add. That the boss will shoot on occasion and keep shooting, and then that the boss will shoot on occasion for a while and then keep shooting, but then once like the wait time for the dash has been exceeded, it will start that the boss will then start preparing to dash. The only main problem is that for the life of me, I have not been able to get Godot or the game more properly to actively. Ready? You'll see when we get to it. I'll explain it when if and when I see it in the debug. Yeah, so it's a little bit difficult to see. But if you look over here, right, where you see this line go, right? This is the debug message that matches, if we look over here in the pre-dash state, it matches this part, right? And the main issue that we keep running into here primarily is that for whatever reason, I don't know what, I'm trying to figure out which state is responsible for it. There's a forcible override of the logic that's going on here to force to force the player, or to force the enemy out of this particular thing and then do shenanigans. And my main suspicion, at least at present, is that it has something to do with one of these two. It's either one of these two or something else in the shooting state that is causing this to be an issue. Because notably, if I comment out in the shooting state this code that checks what to do when the shoot animation is finished. Well, let me see. Ready? Swift flying, rookie. Let me see something here. Stage 2 boss. Let's take a look at the state machine. Okay, cool. Because basically speaking, my main line of thought is mostly that the conflict that we're going to continually have here is going to be between the shooting animation and transitioning into the dash. And that's going to be the hard part to sort of resolve. Yeah, okay. So part of what makes this tricky is that, essentially speaking, right, the timer for the dash is one of those things that I think essentially has to live. So here's part of why she's not dashing anymore. And I realize that this is my fault for the way I set this up. In the movement state, this code that is dealing with That might be it, actually. I think I might have figured that's not going to fix it entirely, I don't think, but I might have figured out one of the biggest things that was causing a blocker. I'm pretty sure it's still not going to work entirely, but I might have figured out, like my brain might have cottoned onto the other part. Okay, so we're getting the messages back, so that's good. Okay. One other thing I need to do here. We're going to copy this. Well, here's the thing. With the shoot state, it shouldn't be... Hang on a second. Oh, wait, no, that's not. Second. Gotta think some things through here. Yeah, mostly the trick here is that I need to try to get this thing to. Ready? I need to try to get the end. I need to try to get the boss to stop switching back into the movement state when a dash is queued. I think is essentially the thing that I'm trying to work around here. Yeah, because if we look through the stack trace here, right, we see that we have a spot where we see going from shoot to move, going from shoot to move, right? That's all correct. Enters the shoot state from the movement state. Okay, switching to the dash. We switch to the pre-dash state. But now, for whatever reason, we are exiting the pre-dash state. But why? This is the part that I can't quite figure out. For some reason, we are exiting the pre-dash state. So basically, I'm going to keep picking this apart to see, essentially speaking, what I have to try to figure out is I have to try to figure out if there is a spot in this state machine, this thing that controls the behavior of the boss, to see if there's a point at which it is being forcibly switched out. Ready? Swift buying. Despite what I keep thinking are safeguards that should prevent that from happening until I need it to. Okay, so it just happened again, so let's take a look here. Yeah. So it is firing. Okay, so let's try this again. So essentially speaking, I think what I have to do is I have to try to cut this off. So now I'm going to move that debug into this thing so that it should only print the name of the shooting animation when it stops. It should only print that when we're not able to switch over to into the stage 2 boss's dash. Okay. Hold on a second. I think that might be it. I think... Yeah, this is the part that's tricky, right? Because we want to be sure. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Put this down here. We're going to do reset stage to boss dash counter. Do that. What we're going to do here is, rather than do it here in the movement state, here's where we're going to do it. When we exit the dash return state, this is when we're gonna do it. So let's see. This is stage 2 boss movement state. I forgot to. Okay, we have to do a little different. Okay. Okay, we're gonna try that there. If this is what fixes it, then I will be very happy and I will order some Chipotle to celebrate. If not, then no Chipotle for me. But we gotta see. Thank you, Squishy. Deeply appreciate the resub. If we can get an exclamation point hype in the chat, I would appreciate it. Alright, we're getting closer. Okay. Because the part that is not quite working yet. Okay. Okay, so then the real question is, why is it going back? Right, so why is it going back to the movement state now? This is the part So probably what this is that at some point I probably messed up something else. Have to go make food. Alrighty, Squishy. Ready? Swift flying, rookie. Okay. Because we're getting spots where she'll stop and pause. Okay. So now the real question is, what is forcing... Alright. I gotta think about this very carefully now. Okay. Because there has to be. So we're not seeing this print statement. Like when we go back and we look at the history over here and we see, right, entered state, pre-dash state from the movement state, we get a for a little while, and then we leave it and go back, which means that it is something else. There is something else that I cannot put my finger on. There's something else that is causing this transition out at that point that I cannot seem to find. Okay. All right, I got no choice. There's only one way to do this. All right. Basically, here's what I have to do at this point. There's probably a way that I could have done something called a breakpoint, which would have forced it to stop when it hit a particular line of code execution. But considering that I'm just like, whatever, I'm going to do it as a fake warning instead. Okay, hold on. In order to make this work, two things I need to do. First of all, I need to... Where is it? If... Basically speaking, I need to do this so that we can avoid getting flooded out by things that I don't need. Because essentially what we need is something called a stack trace. A stack trace is basically the record of okay. Right now, right here, where you're not moving. Right, okay. What the heck? God damn it. I never did a filter. That's why. Okay. 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 That would be why. So, something that I'll explain what happened here. And then this means I need to go actually do this in a bunch of other spots too. Because if I don't, this is going to have been I didn't. No, I said filter. What? No, I said filter. Anyway, okay, I have to comment. I need to make some comments in this code first and foremost. So, here's the deal. Here's the thing. Here's where we were getting messed up before. And this is on me. So, Godot is very powerful in terms of like being able to send out signals and things like that. And one of the signals that I use a lot in Godot in particular is on anim ended. So the idea here is that when we have an animation player, right, and the animation for that animation player ends, we can emit a signal that says to scripts or to code, hey, this animation is over now. Do this thing. However, this is the important part. By default, while Godot will tell you what animation just ended, you have to write in the controls for making sure that, you know, you're not crossing the streams, as it were. So the main issue of what's happening, the reason why we're getting this issue is because when I wrote the enemy hit anim ended script a long time ago, I did not filter out to see if an enemy, when they are hit, is currently in the hit state when that animation ends. Right? Because I did not do that, that causes a bunch of problems. Now, I don't want to just copy this wholesale, but what I do need to make sure I do is at least these two parts. Right? So, because we still want the enemy to be able to like shoot and stuff even if they've just been hit. But the main thing is that I need to make sure that when we are checking whether or not to revert the animation back to movement, we have to check if we are currently in the hit state. I did not do that before, and that is its own problem. And because I didn't do that, this is kind of like the issue that we're in. So what I'm going to do, I need to take this and I need to probably also apply it to the other two stage. I need to apply it at least to the stage 1 boss as well as the stage 3 boss. slightly different though. So we're still going to do if current, if we're still going to do state machine dot current state is this. So we're adjusting it a little bit. So we're basically speaking, we still do things a little bit different for like the stage 1 boss and the stage 3 boss, just because we want to make sure that like we're not like in this particular case, right? With the stage 1 boss in particular, we set it up to go back to its previous behavior so that it sort of gives the impression of you shoot this thing and it reacts, but it is still going to continue doing the thing that it's doing already. The stage 2 boss, however, being more humanoid shaped, we want to make sure that like, you know, it gets hit and we'll do like a shake and go like, oh god, right? That's kind of the point. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Much better. We're getting some errors. Okay, no, that's the only... Okay, that's... Object dispose is a different thing that I haven't figured out how to deal with yet. Okay, so for right now, though, we can comment that out, because that... Now we know that that's been handled. This should also propagate through to a couple of all of the other enemies that use that hit state stuff, which is important, because if I realized that in the first place, I would have realized that that would have been what's causing a number of other issues in terms of hit animations not finishing. So then this means I need to fix this for Leona also, I think. Because if I realized that was the case, then if I realized that was the case, I would have fixed that a while ago. But this is why stack traces are very important, right? Because they let you kind of dig through to where something specific was happening in the code and kind of figure it out. So that is already working much better. Now we just need to, I'm going to take this thing and make some adjustments to it. So we have a nice little scene here that is used for so let me change this now. Stage 2 boss charge warning. So yeah, pointer sprite with text animation player timer. Okay. So the width here, we want this to be 1920 by 100. Okay, we gotta undo that. So there we go. 1920 by like 150, probably, or maybe like 300 even. And then this is now 1920 cut 2. We're going to take the pointer sprite and text. So I think I can, yeah, I can't do that or it gets fussy. Then if I take the text and put it in the pointer sprite, that happens. Okay. Yeah, y'all don't agree with each other. Okay, I get it. Reparent to new node. Just put you both under node 2D. This should be fine, right? Okay, nerds, just, yeah, there we go. I'm gonna also put this one at, where is it? Transform. Here we go. And then animation player. Oh, right. Yeah, it's gonna be upsetty about that now. Yes, yes, okay. Yeah, we gotta, it's upset about that now because it lost track of what these things are. So, okay, node 2D. So let's start with these. So with the node 2D, we're just going to take the scale and lock those back, starting here, and then here. There we go. And now we just need to take the pointer sprite and there we go. Now we're going to duplicate this. We're going to call it stage 2 boss charge warning script. And we're going to replace that up here and open this up, stage 2 boss charge warning script. Okay. So now all we need to do is do public void init area then we're going to say area 2D parent node. So yeah, the Y position needs to match the Y position of the parent. So new position dot Y equals parent node dot position dot Y. Then we're going to say parent node equals to parent. And we can just leave that out. All right, cool. All right. So now we need to go, because the thing that will own this is not the movement state of the stage 2. The stage 2 boss themselves will. So we're just going to do export public packed scene dash warning packed scene. And actually, really, we can do dash warning packed scene equals resource loader dot load. And then all I really have to do is, if I come back over here to where Godot is, okay. Well, I think that should do. Let's see here. I'll go back and explain what I was doing in a second, but essentially speaking, what I was doing in the broad strokes of what I was doing, I was adding a horizontal warning strip to the Brigadier getting ready to charge. Swift flying, rookie. So that when she's about to do it, you know that it's coming and you can move out of the way. Except for the part where unable to cast that to that. Heh. Hang on a second. I messed up something somewhere. Okay, dash warning. This part is not set up correctly. Okay. Which means... Shit. I messed up and I did it in the wrong node. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, I have to switch these now. Because now... Because now this one is... Yeah, now these are crossed up. Because I wasn't paying attention to which one was which. Okay. So stage 3 is stage 2 and stage 2 is stage 3. So... Yeah, this one... So we have to change this one first. So stage 2 boss. This is dash warning. And now this is stage 3 boss. Rockets warning. And it's my fault because I wasn't paying attention to what scene I was working in. So I made a duplicate of the rockets one, but I wasn't paying attention to the scene I was working in, which caused other issues. This should probably fix that issue now. This should probably fix that issue now. Essentially speaking, because I wasn't paying attention to what scenes I was editing, I made all of the changes to make the rocket warning work in the wrong scene. And essentially speaking, I accidentally crossed up which one was supposed to be for which. The rockets warning for stage 3 wound up as the file for stage 2 and vice versa. I did just fix that, but oh right, I need to fix the actual resource call over here. It's not charge warning anymore, it's dash warning. That's why I was getting upset. Strings can be your best friend or your worst enemy when it comes to this sort of thing. Ready? Swift flying, rookie. Alright. Still angry. That's fine. Timer was not added to the scene tree. Okay. Hold on. Timer was not added to the scene tree. Either add it or set auto start to true, which means something else is going on here. So dash warning. It can't find this timer, which is a problem. You just do it this way. It's fine. Now we can just take these. We'll do these. And now we're going to rebuild it. So all of that was basically so that we could, because for whatever reason, it can't find the timer, which I'm going to chalk up to something I probably did funny. That's fine. I'm just literally going to do this instead. And we're just going to do it like that. And while I, strictly speaking, do not have to do it this way, this will make my life easier. All right. This should probably fix that issue. So it's yelling about the timer not being added to the scene for some other reason that I cannot figure out. So I just manually set it up an export so that we can just drop it straight in, and it can't yell about that because it's there now. Like you can't complain and say that there's no timer and that you can't find it because the timer's right there. Can't complain about it. You're gonna work now so I can order my Chipotle and reward myself for being amazing. You're gonna work now because I said so. Okay, it's not. Why does it keep saying timer was not added to this? Okay, there's something else that is going on here, and it's making my ass itch. Because according to this stack trace, the issue that we're running into here is that the timer is not starting. Or rather, it can't find a reference to the timer. Right? Which, to me, doesn't make sense. Because... okay. There's one other way that we can do this. That we might be able to get it to work. So if I go back over to the dash warning, and I get rid of the timer over here. Right? Oh, we can have timers ignore timescale. I didn't know that. And I need to make that adjustment in a bit of the code. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Timer equals new timer. We're going to go timer. Then we're going to do add child timer. And then we're going to start it. And timer one shot is true. Timer ignore timescale is true. So now it literally cannot complain, I don't think, because I'm literally going, okay, we're making the timer raw and fresh. Timer dot name equals stage to boss dot pre dash warning timer. Like, it literally cannot complain that there's no timer because I am making it make one through code and add it to itself when this thing is set up. It literally cannot say that there isn't one because I'm making it do it. There's no way. I say this and then it's going to do it anyway to spite me and I'm going to scream, but it's fine. Imagine the utopia we would live in and programming could be bargained with like that. Yeah, to be clear, I am talking to this machine, but I do not actually believe that it is listening to me, nor that it cares, nor that it is thinking. This is not the way that computers work. Computers don't give a shit. Damn it! Okay. Alright. No, these are all enemies. Right? Okay, here. Stage 2 boss. Dash warning. It's there. So I don't know why it's telling me that it wasn't added to the scene, because it's literally right there. It is literally right there. I don't know what it's talking about. What are you talking about? You're right there, actually. You are literally right there. Okay. This is still fine. We can technically still do this the old-fashioned way. Technically speaking, really, in an ideal world, I would prefer to just be able to use the timer node, because the timer, like, this is the kind of thing that timer nodes are made for in Godot, where you're just able to say, timer node, go do this thing, and I don't have to care about that. But on the off chance, sometimes that, like, this sort of thing happens where, for whatever reason, Godot is like, no, that thing doesn't exist. You're silly. That thing doesn't exist. You're silly. And it wants to keep insisting on it. You can just do a timer the old-fashioned way, which is what I just did. Oh, right. I forgot to set that. That's my fault. There we go. Much better. Const field. Yeah. You're not supposed to be a const. You're just a double now. Okay. Okay. Try that again now. So basically, right, that's the other thing. With timer nodes, you can skip a lot of like the hassle of ways you have to set up certain internal like checks versus doing a timer the old-fashioned way, where you basically take the gradual change in time of frames, you store that inside of like a variable, and when that value reaches a certain number, that's how you know you've exceeded a certain... Okay, cool. Much better. It's not entirely doing the thing the way that I would like, because you see it's hiding over in the... You see it for a flash for like a second, and then it doesn't do the thing. So let me properly make sure that we haven't lost sight of this thing. Okay, so really, properly speaking, I think that I need to recenter this. So here's how I really should do this. I should center these two things on the actual... I think I should center these two things on the actual node itself, like this. And then we take this node 2D, we're going to just do 0, and we're going to do negative 500, negative like 450, negative 450, to negative 400, to negative 300. And then that should do it, I think. So here is the... And then this part, I have to put it at the middle. So I think I have to do... Where is it? Warning script is up here. Okay, so new position.x equals to get window get get visible rect size.x. There we go. So basically speaking, the reason why I'm putting this in the middle like this, right? The idea is that I'm putting this in the middle so that when I tell it, hey, I need you to spawn at the exact middle of the viewport, it will leave it evenly in the middle there. That's the idea, if I did this correctly anyway. Because what we are seeing is that there's like a little bit of like a flash there along the side of the screen where it's spawning in. It's just that it's relative to everything else, it's not spawning in the right spot. Hold on. Gonna do one better. We're gonna do global position, because the global position will then position it according to where it is in the scene overall, and not just relative to its parent, which I think will be more accurate for what we want, if I remember this correctly.
Ready? Swift flying, rookie.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Much better. Much better. Much better. Yeah, Chipotle achieved. I just need to go back and fix one thing that I thought I was fixing, but that made things a little bit worse for Leona. So I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna go poke it in the eye and go fix it real quick. So there's one thing I just need to revert one change that I made, and it's just to Leona's hit state, because that was fine the way that it was. And that's because with Leona in particular, the thing that I messed up on was that, like, right, Leona may be moving or otherwise doing stuff, which means that she may not be in the hit state when she is hit, which means that, to make a long story short, her animation was getting frozen because it was making assumptions about whether or not she would still be in the hit state while flying around, which are not always accurate.
Stage clear.
All right. Yeah, we got it. That's the thing. That's the major thing that I was trying to figure out, and it's great now. It works. Woo. All right. So let's talk about some of the things that have happened with the game since we've been at Play NYC specifically. Well, let me go do one other thing before I forget. First of all, we're going to close all of the other scripts except for this one. And then I need to go mess with the slowdown timer because slowdown timer dot ignore timescale is going to be set to true. And we can now just do that, because now I don't have to multiply those. And I can just do slowdown duration, because that's all it really is. Come over here. Okay. Because if it was 0.5 times 0.5, then that's 0.25. So like a quarter of a second. What slowdown, you may be asking? We'll get to that. So I'll order this Chipotle in a minute as victory, but let's talk about things that have changed in the build since these things happened. So basically, a major thing to kind of keep in mind as far as like, so a couple of things that have changed,
Ready?
right?
Swift flying.
One of them is that we've adjusted hell. Hold on a second. Why did that start happening for no reason? This is giving me a stress. I don't like that. Hold on a second, y'all. I need to double check to see if I messed something up, because for some reason Leona cannot shoot when we come in here. And that makes me nervous. Hold on a sec. Alright. Hold on. Cause is it the input thing? It's the input thing, isn't it? I'm gonna scream if it's the input thing. The input thing being that there's a specific bug that was happening.
Ready? Swift fly, Rookie.
Okay. What did I do? There's something else here that is not working correctly. And it is giving me an agita. Alright. First thing to check. Well, no. It shouldn't be that, because if it was that, then the movement inputs wouldn't be working either. Oh.
Ready? Swift flying, Rookie.
Okay, so then what did I do? There's something else that I did here that's causing this to be a problem, and I don't know what it is now.
Ready? Swift flying, Rookie.
Okay, so then, right, because otherwise the movement stuff wouldn't have been working. That makes sense. Okay, so we know that that's not it. All right, so okay, hold on a second. Okay, this is why. This is why, because I'm silly. So the short answer is that basically because of the fact that I wrote the different states of the game here as different tutorial states, from that's why. This should fix that.
Ready? Swift flying, Rookie.
There we go. So the major thing that I've changed, well, there are a couple of things. The first thing is that the speed of the parallax actually changes based on the speed of the parallax changes depending on what part of the screen you're on. Is the first major thing, right? So the farther up you go on the screen, the slower the parallax scrolls, the closer down you go, the faster it does. Sort of to simulate the fact that when you're like, it's meant to simulate the fact that when you're farther away from the ground, right, things look like they're moving slower comparatively versus when you get close, they move faster. That's the idea, right? The other major change that is a smaller one, but is still, well, you're not going to see it in the tutorial as much, but in the stages further forward from here, you'll start to get a sense for it. I'm going to make those offsets bigger so that people have more room in between those enemies, because 300 is a little tight.
Ready? Swift flying. Ready?
So the main idea, right, is primarily that with the tutorial stage, the major thing that we're doing to kind of like revise this a little bit is to hang on a second. So in this case, since we only have one set, we're going to do this. 3000, and then we're going to do get window dot get visible rect dot size dot y cut 2, so that it's put dead in the middle. So basically, I've sort of revamped we revamped the tutorial level primarily so that the tutorial stage, so that it's a little bit less immediately pressuring. Like the spot where you show up, it's a lot easier to just like actually sit down and like shoot down the enemies without getting popped in the face.
Spin on. Ready? Spin on.
So you have a little bit more time to like actually react to what's going on, right? You still have the nice easy pocket where you can sit down and lay down a bomb and clear out most of the enemies without too much trouble. And we're still working on like this last wave to sort of feel out. We'll work on that last wave to sort of feel out what's appropriate for that one, but we'll get there. And then the enemy bomb tutorial is pretty much the same as it always has been.
Stage 1. Ready? Swift flying. Ready?
So the main thing that's different now is that there have been some background changes to the way that enemies are loaded insofar as like how waves work. basically, what used to happen is that the determination of when the next wave of enemies would come in would be based on an internal timer, right? But now there are two factors that kind of control how that works. Also, when you die, there is a marker that indicates like where you actually are, so it's easier for you to realize, shit, I died. Where do I need to move now in order to like do whatever it is that I'm doing?
Stage 2. Ready? Swift flying. Cookie.
Okay, hold on. One thing I need to do real quick. And that should hopefully stop the computer from yelling angrily at me about that. Because it was getting upsetty.mp4. Basically, those red errors that it was getting was because there was a point. There's a point between transitions where the player isn't actually in the stage, right? And because of that, it's one of those things where
Ready? Swift flying. Okay.
if you're not careful, then the transition between causes it to get upset. Right, let me finish explaining the thing, because I started explaining it, then I stopped to go fix that. So the basic idea here is that, essentially speaking, once the enemies have passed a certain horizontal threshold as they're coming across the screen, or if you have cleared out, basically speaking, there is an area of the screen that is treated as the safe spot, so to speak. That safe spot, while enemies are within that safe spot, the next wave of enemies will not spawn as long as there are enemies in that safe spot, so to speak, right? Once there are no enemies in that safe spot, the next wave gets pushed up. That's the idea, right? That's the idea. That's the way that we kind of want to handle that from here. Now, there's still some things I have to fine tune with that in terms of like, right, I need to make sure that when other waves are called, right, we want to make sure that when other waves are called, there's just enough like push. And it's going to be a thing that I'm probably going to have to like wind up tweaking a bunch in order to, or that we will have to wind up tweaking a bunch in order to make sure it feels right. But the idea here basically is that, essentially speaking, if you know if you are basically really confident in your ability to like clean up, you can force waves to push forward a little faster in that particular sense. So I'm gonna just try bumping some of these back a little. Because the way that this works now, I did 3, right? So we want. So the way that this works now is that while it still says spawn time over here for each of these enemy spawns, it isn't really time-based anymore, right? I think at this point, I might be able to get rid of that spawn time and not completely explode everything. So let me get rid of that, because I think at this point, I'm not using it anymore. And it will be less helpful to have it up there to be seen. This is not a good idea. I should really, theoretically, do this, and hopefully that doesn't like completely botch it, because if it does, I'm going to be up a creek. So let's get rid of the spawn time, because we technically don't need that anymore. I didn't actually, okay. Please don't reset the spawn. Please don't reset the numbers. Please don't reset the numbers. Okay, thank God. I was going to scream. Okay, so the basic idea here is that it's a little hard to see, but basically speaking, every wave now has a script called wave data. And that wave data script will control all of those enemies being spawned in at once. So basically, every time we push a wave, we're basically just stepping through to each one of these things. That's the idea, right? And we essentially control the space between them by increasing the column count, right, of a given set of enemies in a given wave. We want to make sure that enemies that spawn together keep the same column count. So enemies that spawn, let me phrase that differently. Enemies that spawn at the same horizontal distance relative keep the same column count, and then we use the row count to control how high up or how high up or down they spawn. The idea that we essentially came up with was that the enemies sort of spawn on an invisible grid that is off screen. On that grid, the columns and rows are then used to determine how far away from the starting point of the grid those enemies are spawned. I have one other function in there that makes sure that we keep the enemies within a certain vertical range on the off chance that one of the columns swings too far up or too far down. And then everything else is kind of like copacetic from there. That's the general idea of how this works. And that was like the major change that I wound up making to. So for this one, yeah, we want all of these at 2, I think. So 2, 2, 2, 2. So, hey, Kaz. So all these are at 2, and then we're going to bump these up by another 2, so they're 6. Spaced out a little bit. So what I'm doing right now is I'm spacing out horizontally the way that some of these enemies came in, so that if you push the wave ahead, it's not so clustered. But when I say push the wave ahead, what I mean by that is that if you clear out, like I was saying before, if there are no more enemies left in the safe zone of the screen, so to speak, then the game will push ahead the next wave. And what this winds up doing is that it creates a situation where if you are efficient with how you clean out your enemies and how quickly you get rid of them, right? Yeah, we want all of these nerds to come in at like a 4. And then if I have a bomber, this is a wave with a bomber in it, right? No, it's not. Whatever wave I have the bomber in, the bomber needs to be much later. So, like, 39 and 40 over here both come in at 6. Gonna push that to 8. And here, all of these come in at 0. We're going to push these to like, well, if I do 4, then I need to do these at like 10 to kind of keep it a little even. And then the scout should be fine at 0, I think. So let's try this one. So the basic idea, though, is that if I increase the spawn columns for a given wave of enemies, it means that they spawn further back off the screen, which in this case, we want to make some space so that if people are clearing out waves quickly, they don't get swamped immediately. That's the hope anyway. So, alright, I gotta look more carefully at this. Which one of these waves has the bomber in it? It should be like wave 4, I think. Or is it wave 5? Come on now, show me where the bomber is. Here it is, wave 6. So if we look, these are troopers, tank. Okay, here's the first one with the bomber in it. So wave 1 is all of these. Okay, hold on. Okay, so those are all 4. I think we want this one to then be, because 8, yeah, 8 is 640. So the idea is that each of these columns is also a fixed size, right? So the fixed size of each row and each column is 80 pixels by 80 pixels. Night Stubby. So the idea basically is that if you want to know how far back or how far down an enemy is being spawned, you multiply by 8 and add a 0, or just multiply by 80 depending on how sick nasty you are with math. So if I really need an enemy to spawn way the far back, I put the spawn column at 11, and it puts another 880 pixels on top of where it spawns in on.
Stage 3. Ready? Swift flying, rookie. Spin off.
Yeah, I still don't. Why is it pushing? Why is it pushing that fast? Something about that part seems a little bit off. There's a way to adjust this. No, that's the parallax one. Hold on. I need the state machine. Nope, stage 0. Doesn't use that one. Okay, hold on. Stage 3. Where did I put it? Not in the parallax. It's not the HUD. Okay, okay, brain. Where did you put that thing? It's not. Hold on. Okay, cool. So I just need to do wave spawn check. So, right? This is the safe zone I was talking about. This is the safe zone that I was talking about. Basically, once enemies leave the safe zone, that is when the next set of spawns winds up coming in, right? So, for the purposes of this, let's say I do 840, and then I knock off another 200 from this. Actually, 1920 minus 840. Nope, that's not right. 1920 minus 840 cut 2. There we go. 1500. So, basically speaking, the bigger I make this zone, the bigger that the zone is, I should say. The bigger that this zone is, the more time that you have before the next wave kind of pushes up. So I had it at a third before. We're going to leave it at, this is a little bit more than a third, but still a little bit less than a half, and see how that affects it.
Stage 3. Ready? Swift flying, rookie. Spin on. Spin on.
Yeah, it's better, I think. Oh yeah, one other cool thing that y'all might appreciate. So, the ultimate laser, right? So, that was already in the game from a couple of revisions back. But the main change that was made for post Play NYC is relatively straightforward. That change is very specifically, right, that if you, before the change that I made, or before the change we made, sorry, I'm trying to work on adjusting my language a little bit. So if you hear me say I and then stop and then readjust, assume that it's because I'm trying to just like get some, I'm trying to like be more consistent about that. The idea here is that what we decided on was, right, players are having a hard time remembering to seeing to react to, oh, if I use the ultimate laser, I need to then hold down the shoot button. So we made that, we just kind of took that off of the mental stack by just saying, when you engage the ultimate laser, it begins firing immediately and will just keep on firing on its own without you having to do anything. And the cool thing about Godot that I really, really like is that it does this, and it's easy to do this with Godot because there is such a thing as input.action press. Input.action press, right, basically tells Godot, hey, Godot, I want you to pretend that you are pressing some button right now, and I will tell you what button I want you to be pretending to press. And until you tell Godot to release that button, it will simulate pressing that button for you. This is how, for example, when you look at Leona coming into a stage, for example, this is how we simulate Leona actually flying in to the stage without you pressing anything. Because it used to be that she would just spawn in.
Swift flying, rookie.
And you can control where she comes in at if you hold. I should go fix that, actually. Oh, we have ads again. I'm going to go fix that real quick. Okay, cool. I wanted to wait for ads to finish before getting back into things. Okay, so I went to go fix a thing. Right, the simulated input thing. So like Godot allows you to do that pretty freely, right? Oh right, I forgot I can't. Shit. Right, I forgot. That's why I can't do that one. We have to do this. Lol, Lamau. Sorry, y'all. I keep forgetting that because we use simulated input in order to get Leona onto the screen. This also means that she always has to be like her movement inputs always have to be available in some way, or we don't get that to work. There is a way that I can get around that, but it involves writing another state for Leona. Okay, that's the thing. Why are these waves spawning that quickly? Okay, hold on a second. I need to cut down on a couple of things. Those things are fine. Okay, so then we want the spawn data. That's what we want. I think I'm printing out. Yeah, I don't need that right now. Hush. Okay. Yeah, don't need that anymore. Okay, let's try this again. I think, is there a spot where I'm making it print out the... Yeah. Okay.
Stage 3. Ready? Swift flying, rookie. Spin on. Spin
Yeah. So basically, that's what we're working with at this point. So if you deliberately like, um, if you deliberately sort of like take the waves slower, then to a certain extent, um, the game also slows down, right? So if you take the waves slower, the game does not like the game does not overwhelm you. But if you're like, all right, no, I'm going to clear and I'm going to clear fast, then it's like, okay, you better be ready for that heat. That's kind of the idea. Um, those are like the major changes insofar as like things that have been most directly affected by some of the things coming out of Play NYC in particular. Um, oh yeah, there is like one other thing. Let me go and run us from the title menu so y'all can see it, and then I'm gonna order this Chipotle and we're gonna go head out. I think we haven't hit 3 hours, but there's something important I need to prepare for tomorrow. And that means that I need to like actually stop streaming relatively on time and deal with it because it's not bad, but it came up very last minute, which means I need to prepare for it very quickly.
Can you keep up, rookie?
However, I do want to show you all this thing beforehand.
Shoot lantern.
So yeah, we have an attract screen now, and that was what was running in the build. Hold on a second. I think we might have had an oopsie doodle, and the music doesn't play when you come back to this. Um, oh yeah. I need to make sure that we do these things so that it always plays that. Um, so yeah, we now have that, and basically all it is just a video that is set up to play in a scene of its own that also has a controller very similar to the score. So like the score, basically speaking, what happened was that when I made the score scene, right, there's a thing called attract mode manager, right? Something that I coded myself. The idea behind the attract mode manager is that it will wait for a little while and then it'll circle around to one of it'll circle around to whatever other scene I specify after that wait period is over. Right? That's the idea. That's the idea. So in this case, the score scene is oh right. Come to think of it, I'll ask the team later if we want to switch out because this is the old stage 2 parallax in the background. Fun fact. Um we did update it. We did update it much more recently. Thanks to our lovely background artist. Uh they're not here right now, probably. But like our lovely background artist is the one who's responsible for updating stage two's art. But this is the old one, so I have to ask at some point if everybody wants it to be switched out for the new one, or if we keep the old one in as a joke, not a joke, or like, but just like an in. The word is going to come to me. It's like an in joke. There we go. Yeah, Easter egg. Yeah, that'll probably do. But yeah, those are like the main. Well, there is one other change. Y'all saw it, but I never really dwelled on it for very long. But let me go back and re-demonstrate it so it's a little bit easier to see. Um, so perfect spins have been a thing in Shootlancer probably since sometime after or during CEO, or maybe like a little bit afterward. One of those two. I kind of forget when I put it in. But one of the things that did get implemented is that it's a little subtle, it's a little difficult to see, but whenever you get a perfect spin, there's a little bit of slowdown, just a little.
Shootlancer.
Like a perfect pairing C5 to 6. Yeah. And you can turn the slowdown on or off.
Spin off. Spin off. Perfect.
You still get the sound effect, but if for whatever reason you want the slowdown on, put it on.
Spin on. Perfect. Rank out. Rank out. Spin on. Perfect. Rank out. Spin on. Perfect. Spin on. Rank perfect. Double. Spin perfect. Speed. Spin on. Double. Rank out. Spin on. Rank out. Perfect. Spin off.
So yeah, I adjusted the volume there so you could actually hear the voiceover, but you do actually have like very specific other sound effects that play when you manage to get one. So yeah, and the idea behind a perfect spin is more or less that it will reduce for every projectile that you perfect spin through, you get a reduction in the cooldown time on your ultimate and a reduction in the cooldown time on your spin, as well as 50 points per projectile you manage to get through. So if you're really like trying to like crank up for that, in terms of like, I really want to try to maximize the amount of points I get, one of the ways that you do it is basically by getting perfect spins through things. In an ideal world, I would make it like a cumulative. I would maybe try to make it like a cumulative bonus in terms of like, oh, you've gone through 50, 100, 150. You know what? Why not actually? After all, I'm the lead programmer. Okay, strictly speaking, these are things that, strictly speaking, these are things that I do try to consult with people about. But every now and again, I am allowed a little bit of leeway if I come up with cool stuff. Is basically the little allowance I get. Let me see here. Um, so this is, I don't think this is something that needs to be surfaced up front. So I'm just going to do int consec perfect. Make them do a clip. Okay. So then let's do perfect spin detection. Then we're going to do consec perfect spins plus plus. Okay. And then we just have to reset the consecutive perfect spins. Um, yeah. Yeah, I think that's the best spot to do it. If perfect if consec perfect spins is greater than 0, consec perfect spins is back to 0. I think that should do it. So essentially speaking, this means that you have to basically time it so that you do them all during the same perfect spin action. It's not you can do one perfect spin and then it stays, and then another one.
Ready? Swift flying, rookie. Perfect. Spin on. Perfect. Spin on. Perfect. Spin on. Rank out. Perfect. Spin on. Ultimate ready. Rank out. Perfect. Spin on. Rank out. Perfect.
Okay. Why is it staying increased though? That's not good. Hold on. Why is it staying increased though? That's hold on a second. When is it? Oh, that's why. I need to not do it there. I'm silly. That's why. That's the wrong spot to do that in. That's the wrong spot to do that in. It's like, why is it staying up there? It's like, because that only turns off. Screaming, crying, throwing up. Okay, let's try this. spin. I should do it here. So basically, once the spin cooldown starts, then we reset the consecutive perfect spin. There we go. Now it should work correctly. There we go. This is much better. So yeah, there we go. This should make it work the way that I was expecting it, though.
Stage 1. Ready? Swift flying, rookie. Perfect. Spin on. Shoot lantern.
Let's adjust this a little bit.
Shoot lantern. Spin on. Spin on.
So yeah, it's still tricky to do, but basically in situations where the bullets are thick and difficult to read, like where the bullets are thick and these things are going on, that's when you can potentially boost that up a little bit. So let's call that one a win. All right. I may not have time to order Chipotle because it's like 9:30, and I think that they stopped doing delivery around this time. So I might have just cheated myself out of Chipotle. Big cry. Let's see. Go away. Maybe there's a pretty good chance because I think they stopped taking orders at like 9:15. Nope. Looks like I might still have time. Let's see. Chipotle. No, they're still open. All right, bet. I'll just order myself a burrito bowl. Ba 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 ba. All right. I'm treating myself just because like things have been going pretty good. All right. So that's where we're at for now, as far as Shoot Lancer stuff goes. Next week, Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I will probably have more of these things for you. I will say, at least at present, this is important. I'm not going to put anything in stone yet, but I feel like it's important for y'all to know. Depending on how some things go in the next weeks, stream schedule may change a little bit. I don't want to get into details about how just yet, because I need to see how a couple of things shake out first. In terms of what certain things happen and what certain things can and can't be negotiated. I will let y'all know when I know more about it. I just have to like move in a little bit. Not moving in silence seems like it's an exaggerated way of putting it, but I want to sort out a couple of things before I let y'all know one way or another what the schedule change looks like, but there may be one. For reasons that are relatively good. But I don't want to get too deep into it before like the actual thing happens, right? Don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. Right? So, I'm not going to get too deep into it right now, because I still don't yet know whether or not this is going to work out the way that I would like it to. I'm going to believe that it will, but it is going to require that I have a little bit of time to just let things cook, and then I get back to y'all one way or the other. Depending on how it goes, right? I almost jumped into a channel that I wasn't supposed to jump into. That would have been real awkward. Reflexes are a hell of a thing, I tell you. Anyway, the main thing that I'm getting at is that once I know more about that, I will let y'all know, probably in the Gilded first, and then on stream later when stream does the thing. Nightbot has already started doing ads, so you can see over there that Nightbot. If you want to hang out, I'm working on moving the blog to somewhere else, because NeoCities isn't really doing it for me at this point. Stream blogs are up on YouTube. Ko-Fi, if you want to support me in the stream but don't want to give money to Amazon or Jeff Bezos, Ko-Fi is the way to do that. Throne is where you can help contribute to the stream, or like my home office setup or my apartment setup, by buying gifts anonymously. Some of them that are really expensive can even be crowdfunded by multiple people putting in hands. And then my card has all my other social media links, but really it's Blue Sky. Community, Shoot Lancer. That is where these things are. I meant to put onto here a QR code for the Shoot Lancer Discord, and the reason why is because going forward, I can't tell y'all when the date is exactly, but going forward from here, now that we're sort of back in Play NYC, we want to start doing exclusive Shoot Lancer builds for the members of the Discord. So if you want to be able to like actually play and test that, you got to join us on Discord. I believe that our main immunity.games page should have a link to the Discord. If it doesn't, let me know and I will get that fixed. Um, the prototype that anybody can play, which will always be a little bit behind, is going to be up on our itch page. You can also support us via Patreon, free or paid, if you'd like to be able to further assist the development of Shoot Lantern. And the Guilded that I was talking about, I don't run a Discord community. I prefer Guilded for several reasons. Mostly that a lot of the things that Guilded does not charge for, a lot of the things that Guilded does not charge for, Discord does. However, I will be transparent in saying that basically we started up the Guilded community well before Roblox started doing at least some of the really, really, really more heinous bullshit. So if you are morally opposed to like supporting something that is like acquired by Roblox, I get it. No pressure. You do not have to join. It's just that like I do like community exclusive things over there. Mostly dealing with watching anime and talking about some things that normally I don't really talk about on stream because I don't have time, right? But again, I understand if you're like, I don't want to fuck with that. I get it. No judgment, no pressure. I understand entirely. It is just one of those things where literally we were already in this ecosystem and then they started getting exponentially worse. Anyway, let me not get into that. My main point is that I appreciate y'all coming by. And we're going to go hang out with Pleasantly Twisted. Currently, they are playing some Dark Souls 2 for the first time, along with friend of the channel, Candybag CJ, as their co-pilot. So, Wade, Pleasantly Twisted. Yeah, I can spell, I swear to God. The raid message is SJH does raids. Throw in your favorite emotes. They don't have to be my emotes. Use whatever emotes you want. Doesn't really matter to me. Schedule stuff. We still do have Fighting Friday this upcoming Friday, 29th, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday the 31st is more Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. I can tell you that next Friday, we do not have stream. I have a prior social engagement to go to. So next Friday, we don't have stream. Next Friday, we don't have stream, but this upcoming Friday, this upcoming Sunday, and next Wednesday are all stream days. Next Wednesday will be more Shoot Lancer stuff, probably. Like I said, this upcoming Friday is Fighting Friday stuff. And then Sunday is Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. That starts at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're going to go hang out with Twisted before y'all get hit with more ads. So stay safe. Wash your hands. If you wear a mask, you should wear a mask when you go outside. That's the thing I'm trying to say. If you're going outside, wear a mask. Very important that you do that. Be excellent to each other, but not to bigots, racists, TERFs, sexists, anti-queer folks, or fascists. Remember, Black Lives Matter. Trans rights and reproductive rights are human rights. Palestine, Sudan, the Congo, New Caledonia, Haiti. All of those must be free. None of us are free till we're all free. It's just kind of what it is. Just make sure that you look out for each other and your communities. You don't have to like do a lot in order to support each other. Just enough. You know what I mean? So yeah, thank y'all. Appreciate it. Have fun with Twisted. Y'all will see me over there. I'm gonna be like swinging the mod sword, doing that stuff, eating my Chipotle, and I guess the way that Cat Wizard put it, I will keep being handsome and cool while I enjoy my Chipotle. Damn it. God. Anyway, I'll catch y'all later, whenever later is. Take care. Deuces.